Daily Bible Time, Tuesday morning, Dominic Steele here, and today the burial of Jesus. Mark 15, verse 42. When it was already evening, because it was the day of preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a prominent member of the Sanhedrin, who was himself looking forward to the kingdom of God, came and boldly went to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. Now, here in Mark's Gospel, we meet Joseph of Arimathea. In John's Gospel, at this point, you also meet Nicodemus. It says Joseph went to ask for the body in John, and Nicodemus went with him. And Nicodemus seems to gain prominence because he's appeared earlier in John's Gospel as well. But Joseph was actually the main person in this conversation, and he's the only person in the conversation reported by Mark, by Matthew, by Luke. Now, Joseph and Nicodemus, they were both members of the Jewish Sanhedrin. There's little evidence for this in John chapter 12, verse 42. Let me give you that verse. Nevertheless, many did believe in him, even among the rulers. But because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, so they would not be banned from the synagogue, for they loved human praise more than praise from God. And so there's a number, according to that line in John, of secret believers in the Sanhedrin. And at this point, I think we can take it that that number of secret believers would have included Joseph and also Nicodemus. Both men were rulers, both men were rich, and it would seem they were rich by honest means, so they were able to be respected in the community and have this kind of conversation with Governor Pilate. And look, we just want to note that this conversation would have taken courage. Both Joseph and Nicodemus, they're at this point aligning themselves with the man Jesus who has just been executed for treason. Verse 44, Mark 15. Pilate was surprised that he was already dead. Summoning the centurion, he asked him whether he'd already died. When he found out from the centurion, he gave the corpse to Joseph. Now, it is the case when somebody has been crucified that they could potentially hang on the cross for several days after crucifixion and die the long, lingering death of exposure, exhaustion, and thirst in the Israeli sun. There was, of course, concern about Jesus' death hanging on the cross over the Sabbath and over the Sabbath at Passover, and so there was the move that they went to break his bones in John's Gospel, and he turned out to be already dead, so that didn't need to happen. But it was a surprise to the officialdom that Jesus was dead already, and Pilate checks with the centurion who was on hand to certify death. That was the purpose of having a senior officer there. The suggestion is that this was necessary because perhaps a more junior officer will probably be more easily bribed. And I mean, if the bribe had taken place, somebody who wasn't quite dead could be taken down and thus escape a final death penalty. But that's not what happens here. We have confirmation of death, well, first from the centurion and then from Joseph and Nicodemus. They all see the body, they all process the body, and presumably because Joseph and Nicodemus were rich, it wasn't just them who were processing the body, respectfully doing the burial. They had people working for them. Anyway, verse 46, after he brought some linen cloth, Joseph took him down, wrapped him in linen. I'm presuming it's Joseph, assisted by his staff, did that. Then he laid them in a tomb cut out of the rock, rolled a stone against the entrance to the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, were watching where he was laid. Now, key to see is that in the burial, neither Joseph nor Nicodemus had a hope in the resurrection. We saw a few days ago how terrified the disciples were when they ran away, and they're not to be seen at this point. They failed to come forward even now. The only exception to all of that was the group of women that we were looking at yesterday in Mark 15:47, who were watching at a distance. The commentator Cole observes it's likely that Pilate would have refused to hand the body over to a group of humble disciples, for it was the property of the Roman government, but to a responsible man like Joseph, he was prepared to grant it. And Cole observes that, like Esther in Esther 4:14, Joseph had been prepared for a time like this. But bottom line for us, we have here a report of multiple witnesses confirming that the body of Jesus is dead and buried. and we look forward to the resurrection of Christ next on Daily Bible Time. Thanks for being with us.